Hello, good evening, everyone, and warm welcome to Business Live. Coming up in our headlines, Ministry of Finance appeals to investors to embrace debt restructuring program since it is a needed requirement that must be met ahead of time to secure an IMF program. We'll hear from the Deputy Minister of Finance, Abnasa Sari.
We will move to the next stage of the IMF negotiation, and we need that to help our businesses also thrive, because they will need that forex. They will need that stability in this country.
Director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, Professor Peter Kwoti, calls for more engagement on debt restructuring program to bring all stakeholders on board to avert capital flight.
Onus lies on government to initiate that national consensus. It has to deepen its consultation with key stakeholders, parliamentarians, investors, fund managers, all the people that matter.
This evening, we will be in the Ashanti region where some mobile telecom subscribers and mobile money agents say the deactivation of SIM cards is adversely affecting their businesses and livelihoods.
It's more than 3,000.
We have details of these and many others lined up for you. Please stay. Grateful you could stay on. I am Pious Kojo Backah. Look now at our stories. Government has set December 19 this year as deadline for corporate bondholders who want to exchange their financial instruments under the debt exchange program. This was captured in an exchange memorandum document released by the Ministry of Finance. My colleague George Yaffe has more.
Government in this document is asking institutions with interest in papers like the ESLA and Dutch bonds that they have up to 4 p.m. on December 19, 2022 to carry out this exercise. That is the exchange of the current bonds that they are holding with the 4 new government papers that the Finance Ministry will be issuing as part of this debt exchange program. The ministry in the document is insisting that this exercise is not targeted at individuals. The ministry on December 20, 2022 will give details on the number of offers that has been presented and which ones it will accept. Government will also come out with a strategy on how the settlements will be done for these new bondholders. The Ministry of Finance has maintained that it needs to undertake this debt exchange program to help stabilize the economy. It adds that this exercise will be voluntary. The Finance Minister stated that this program, if successful, will result in government saving more than 136 billion Ghana cedis just for next year. However, some analysts are worried about how this move, if not handled well, could affect confidence in the entire financial sector in the country.
Now, Ghana can only proceed to the next stage of the negotiations with the International Monetary Fund after the debt completion of debt exchange program. Now, this is according to a Deputy Minister of Finance, Abnasa Sari. She is hopeful a successful execution of debt exchange initiative will be key in securing the program. Mr. Sari spoke at the post-budget forum organized by auditing and accounting firm Deloitte Ghana.
Deputy Finance Minister Abena Osei Sari said the debt exchange program is key to salvage Ghana's economy. She called on investors to support the initiative and to ensure macroeconomic stability.
We are in a very tight situation. The economy is in crisis, and whatever we have to do to salvage the economy and stabilize the economy is what we are doing. It is a very, bitter process. We can feel it. But at the moment, we are asking all and sundry to support government to achieve this or to make this possible. Because if we are able to cross this and encourage this voluntary participation, we will move to the next stage of the IMF negotiation. And we need that to help our businesses also thrive, because they will need that forex. They will need that stability in this country. And we will need that support from everybody to make this happen. This is our country. We are at a crossroads, and we are asking citizens to support governments, get to the next stage in the IMF negotiations. That will help stabilize the economy and then get us back on track. And with the support of the PCPED program that government has outlined, we believe within the medium term, Ghana can rise again. So this is the nature of the debt exchange that we have. And like I said, it is voluntary, but we are encouraging everybody to participate.
On this part, Chief Executive Officer for the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mark Bedu-Abuaje, entreated government to be more aggressive in its industrialization agenda.
I think we should also look at our tax system when it comes to production, to move from a pre-production taxation to a post-production taxation. If you are bringing a raw materials and other items and machines, you end up paying a huge duties on this product. There is a process where if you produce and you export, you are able to get a duty drawback. The duty drawback will stay there for 20 years and you not get it. So all these things feed into the cost of production, making our production costs very high and businesses uncompetitive when it comes to this production. Now we are operating in a certain environment that whatever decision we take should not be just for Ghana, but for the ASCFTA, for the African continent-wide decision.
Under Ghana's domestic debt exchange program, domestic bondholders will be asked to exchange their instruments for new ones. Existing domestic bonds as of December 1, 2022 will be exchanged for a set of 4 new bonds maturing in 2027, 2029, 2032 and 2037. James Ishen's report for Joy Business.
More on the domestic debt exchange program, and the director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, Professor Peter Kojo, is calling for a broader stakeholder engagement on the newly launched domestic debt exchange program in order to restore stability in the financial landscape. According to him, if government fails to engage more, there are going to be capital flights in its own securities. He spoke exclusively to Joy Business on the sidelines of the 2023 post-budget statement review.
Speaking at the 2023 post-budget forum, Director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, Professor Peter Kojo, said a national consensus is key to the sustainability of the newly launched domestic debt exchange program. He warns if broader engagement is not held, there are going to be more capital flights.
The onus lies on government to initiate that national consensus. It has to deepen its consultation with key stakeholders, parliamentarians, investors, fund managers, all the people that matter. Then apart from that, of even civil society, as well as the citizenry. Government ought to communicate clearly what the program is, this debt exchange program, the IMF program, what it entails, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, what are the possible pains that we have to absorb for now. You know, all of this has to be communicated, and I believe it requires all of us to also be receptive to some of this information. Of course, without it, then we cannot sign on to the IMF program, and that may be problematic for us. We have come far, and I think it's a bitter pill, but we ought to take it.
He adds that it will take a while to regain confidence at the level of 2019, even within and after an IMF program.
It will take a long time for them to regain confidence. If we should go through this and float shares, bonds on the international markets, I think for us to be back to pre-2019, it will take us quite some time to be back there. So we are not in normal times. But I also have to quickly add that it's inevitable. This is what we are faced with, and we have to embrace it carefully.
On the bit about the 2023 budget, Professor Kojo called on the government to review its flagship programs and realign expenditure.
But we add that there is a need to review the flagship programs and realign expenditures. Because if you look at the expenditure for 2023, education is taking 18 billion, about 18 billion. Then agric is taking 2.15 billion. Trade and industry, 0.587 billion. why the huge disparity in spending? Why are we putting so much in education and not also putting so much in the critical or the productive sectors of the economy? Agric is key. It was because of Agric that during COVID, we didn't experience hyperinflation. So we ought to also put some money into Agric rather than spending everything on education.
Meanwhile, the Institute believes the 2023 budget will restore macro stability under an IMF program.
Now, the Chamber of Corporate Trustees has rejected the debt exchange program proposed by the Ministry of Finance. According to the Chamber, the proposal put forward by the Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, is inferior to market expectation and will destroy the savings of Ghanaians and further undermine market confidence. Thomas Eso is Executive Secretary of the Chamber.
Pension funds are our own earned income, that a portion of it have been taken and then put in a fund, a retirement fund, so that when you go on retirement, you can have access to those funds and then have a certain level of standard of living, or to be able to meet your cost of living when you are not earning any active income. And so the approach that government have taken, we believe that it will not help contributors, and that is why we have rejected government's proposal. As of now, none of us even know how that liquidity provision program is even going to work. We don't even know what is the modalities. We don't even know how do government even provide this liquidity to help us so that the business do not is not affected, or contributors or pensioners who want to withdraw their money are even affected. So we don't even know the structure. Just like we also don't know what was going to be involved in the debt exchange program, only to be informed on Friday and to be announced on Sunday. And I believe that if we all can see what is going to be the structure, we can also make our contribution, because the pension fund industry is a very complex and sensitive industry. You know, the monies that we receive are not our monies. They are the monies from workers whose part of their salary, 5% or even more, have been deducted and remitted to us. So it's not our money. And therefore, if you're not very careful and we don't understand what it is, as at now, I've heard the Deputy Minister say that when I was even at the meeting, that was also said, but we don't even know what structure this liquidity support is going to be, so we don't even know how it's even going to impact positively on the operations of the pensions industry yet.
Meanwhile, Associate Professor of Finance at Andrews University, USA, Professor Williams Pipra, says it is in the interest of everyone for investors to take a loss and accept government's conditions. According to him, this would help the economy recover.
According to Bloomberg, bonds that will be due in December 31, 2022 and June 2023 for local bonds. If government is supposed to go ahead and pay, government will need 43 billion Ghana cedis. In June 2023, Euro bonds that will be due, that is on coupon payment, is $663 million, where we 31, 2022 and June 2023 for local bonds. If government is supposed to go ahead and pay, government will need 43 billion Ghana cedis. In June 2023, Euro bonds that will be due, that is on coupon payment, is $663 million, where we find ourselves as a country, the government is not in a position to pay. Simply put, government has reached the solvency point. The only mitigation for government to restructure or reprofile the bond arrangement to meet IMF requirements is this kind of arrangement. Government is facing, I'm not speaking for government, but I'm just being academic and speaking to a fact.
Right.
Government is facing what we term as sovereign risks. Anybody who purchases a bond from a government, you are one of the things that will be stated on the prospectus, that is on the risks element, is sovereign risks. Sovereign risks means that government may decide to default and not make the payment. So it is in the interest of everybody to take a loss in reduction in interest payments, so that you'll be able to even get back your principal. That is care. So the Chamber of Trustees going on that line, it will not really support and it not benefit the people they are holding trust for.
You're still watching Business Live with me, Pious Kojo Backah. Moving on to some other stories, the Bank of Ghana has concluded arrangements to receive over 100,000 ounces of gold to be purchased from the local mining industry. This is part of measures by the central bank to strengthen the bank's reserve. According to Governor Dr. Ernest Addison, the industry has already sold over 75,000 ounces to the central bank since June last year and made progress for more by the close of the year.
The overall objective of that program is to shore up the bank's reserves with monetary gold. The domestic gold program seeks to provide an avenue to organically increase our reserves upon refining of Tory gold without distorting incentives of the local gold producers. Over the long term, this has the potential of enhancing currency stability and confidence in the economy. Moreover, increasing the country's gold holdings will ensure preservation of capital of our reserve portfolio. The ability to leverage the gold holdings to raise funds at competitive terms for short-term liquidity management is also an added advantage. Since the inception of the program in June 2021, the bank has gradually purchased 75,268.70 ounces of gold, with arrangements in place to receive over 100,278.67 ounces from mining firms between now and the end of the year.
Hello, welcome back. Let me take you to the Ashanti region now. And some telecom subscribers and mobile money agents in Kumasi say the deactivation of SIM cards is adversely affecting their businesses and livelihoods. They lament their inability to undertake electronic financial transactions, which is further compounded by the blocking of calls, messages, and data services. Now, a number of customers have thronged the premises of telecommunication centers in an attempt to reactivate their SIM cards. After several hours of waiting in long queues, there has been little response from officials at telco service centers. Love FM's Mona Lisa Frimpong gauged the mood at some service centers in Kumasi and has filed this report.
following the deactivation of the SIM cards, we are visiting some registration centers to assess the situation. And as you can see behind me, there's been mad rush at the So MTN Service Center, all in a bid for subscribers to get their SIM cards reactivated once again. We go over to speak to some of them.
Friday, no, back on ever born. Me ya kwa no pere nyina na ekọ na yade yade ba bo be 3 afre me fra enko bi ntene kura me kwa adwuma kura manko me se me ba be ye me se me kura na me kwa adwuma manko nte ha me pa se adwuma kura me kwa benya kakra gu mbotuma o matwa sim to wa me ye so a nsu huhia so on so be fu be fro na yade yade
the ba be ya ahomachi be 5 na be gina ase omba ka twa me se network enya adwuma na aban ampu na ode bai se omofa register card na enya adwuma me so maye enti maye o me ba hia na ba be enti how se ensa anya ye si anya ye na mo testing message se ade na wo ye anya ye na me sa meye enti a metina sa na masa block mi ntimi nyiska ade ba ko ye hini se o send this council so na mama na ba enso nipa no so ntimi yi
Me ticket that says it's more than 3,000.
In the creation of jobs, Ghana has not been left out of very significant growth, as it is also striving hard to make significant progress within the sector. As Ghana plans to start its airline in 2023, Regional General Manager for TAG Angola says the country can sustain operations through private-public partnership.
It depends on the market that you're in. So private sector ownership works very, very well in some places. It doesn't work as well in other places. Public sector ownership has its challenges also in terms of what we would call a legacy carrier that has maybe a lot of old policies and processes that haven't been changed in years because it's more difficult to do so. Whereas I think a private sector airline is potentially more able to react more quickly to...
And that's it for Business Live for tonight. I am Pious Kojo Backah. Always a pleasure serving you. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.